Let me tell you about Sarah. She's 32 years old, makes decent money, works hard, and somehow feels like she's running on a financial treadmill that never stops. 10 years ago, she made what seemed like a completely reasonable decision. Actually, it wasn't even a decision. It felt more like just what you do when you get your first real job. She bought a car she couldn't really afford. Not a luxury sports car, not something ridiculous, just a reliable sedan that was maybe $200 more per month than what she actually needed. And that one choice, that single $1,000 decision spread across a few monthly payments, has quietly drained over $40,000 from her life. Money that could have been invested, money that could have been her emergency fund, money that could have completely changed her financial trajectory. Here's the thing that nobody tells you about money. The big purchases aren't what keep people broke. It's not the vacation you saved up for. It's not even the expensive dinner you treat yourself to once in a while. The real wealth killers are the small, seemingly insignificant decisions that feel totally normal in the moment, but compound into financial quicksand over years. And the scariest part, most people don't even realize they're making these decisions. They feel like necessities. They feel like what everyone else does. They feel like you'd be weird or somehow failing at adulthood if you didn't do them. My name is Ryan, and I've spent way too many hours studying why some people seem to build wealth almost effortlessly, while others work just as hard and end up with nothing to show for it. The difference usually isn't income. It's not luck. It's not even financial education in the traditional sense. It's understanding which $1,000 decisions will haunt you for a decade and which ones will set you free. If that sounds like something you want to understand, hit that subscribe button because we're about to break down the exact spending traps that keep millions of people stuck, and more importantly, how to avoid them without living like a monk or giving up everything you enjoy. So let's start with the most dangerous $1,000 decision of all, the one that gets almost everyone. And I need you to really pay attention here because this one is sneaky. It's called lifestyle inflation, and it happens so gradually that you don't even notice it's eating your future. Picture this. You're 22, fresh out of college, and you land your first real job making $45,000 a year. After taxes and basic expenses, you have maybe $500 left over each month. Not a ton, but it's something. You're young, you're excited, and honestly, you feel rich compared to your broke college days. Then something interesting happens. A year later, you get a raise. Nothing crazy, just a standard 5% bump. That's an extra $2,250 per year, roughly $180 per month after taxes. Now here's where the $1,000 decision sneaks in. Most people, and I mean like 90% of people, will immediately absorb that entire raise into their lifestyle. Maybe it's a slightly nicer apartment. Maybe it's upgrading from the basic gym to the fancy one with the smoothie bar. Maybe it's just eating out a few more times per month because, hey, you earned it. Each of these individual choices seems tiny. We're talking $50 here, $100 there. But here's the math that will make you uncomfortable. If you absorbed every raise you got for 10 years into lifestyle upgrades instead of investing even half of those increases, you've essentially made a $1,000 decision every single year. Except it's worse than that, because those lifestyle upgrades don't just cost you once, they cost you every single month forever until you actively decide to downgrade. That $100 per month gym smoothie bar, over 10 years, that's $12,000. But wait, it gets worse. If you had invested that $100 monthly with average market returns, you'd have roughly $17,000. So that gym smoothie bar actually cost you $17,000. And that's just one tiny lifestyle inflation. Most people have dozens of these running simultaneously without even realizing it. The streaming services that stack up, the subscription boxes you forgot you signed up for, the slightly nicer car, the apartment with the in-unit washer-dryer that costs $200 more per month. None of these feel like major financial decisions in the moment. They feel like normal life upgrades that you deserve because you're working hard. But here's what I want you to understand. I'm not saying you should never upgrade your life. That would be miserable and unsustainable. What I am saying is that most people upgrade their lifestyle at the exact same rate as their income increases, which means they never actually get ahead. They just get more comfortable while staying exactly as broke as they were before. Now let's talk about the second type of $1,000 decision that absolutely destroys people financially. And this one is going to be controversial because entire industries are built around convincing you it's totally fine. I'm talking about financing things that lose value. Look, I get it. Sometimes you need a car and you don't have $15,000 sitting in your bank account. Life happens. But there's a massive difference between financing something out of genuine necessity and financing something because the monthly payment fits your budget. Here's what car dealerships figured out decades ago. People don't think in total cost. They think in monthly payments. A salesperson will never lead with, "This car costs $35,000. They'll lead with, "This car is only $450 per month." And suddenly, a car that's way more than you need feels affordable because, hey, $450 is less than your rent. But let's break down what that decision actually costs you. A $35,000 car financed over 6 years at a reasonable interest rate will cost you approximately $42,000 by the time you're done paying. That's $7,000 just in interest. But here's the part that really hurts. That car is worth maybe $15,000 by the time you've paid it off. You spent $42,000 to own something worth $15,000. Meanwhile, a reliable used car for $12,000, financed over 3 years, might cost you $13,500 total, and it'll be worth around $6,000 when you're done. The math is dramatically different. The $1,000 decision here isn't the car itself. It's the choice to finance more car than you need because the payment feels manageable. And that decision, made once in your mid-20s, often repeats itself every 5 to 6 years for the rest of your life. I've seen people who have paid over $200,000 in car payments throughout their adult lives. Think about that for a second. $200,000. That's a house down payment in most of the country. That's a fully funded retirement account. That's generational wealth that just evaporated into depreciation and interest payments. And cars are just one example. The same psychology applies to furniture, electronics, appliances, and basically anything that offers you financing options. 0% financing sounds amazing until you realize it only exists because they've built the interest into the price. That zero interest-free couch is $800 more expensive than the same couch you could buy with cash elsewhere. You're paying the interest, they're just hiding it. Now let's talk about something that's even more dangerous because it doesn't feel like a financial decision at all: emotional spending. This is probably the hardest one to recognize in yourself because it masquerades as treating yourself or self-care or living your life. And sometimes it genuinely is those things, but a lot of times it's expensive therapy that doesn't actually solve anything. Here's what emotional spending looks like in real life. You had a terrible day at work. Your boss criticized you in front of everyone. You feel small and frustrated and angry. On your way home, you stop at Target for toothpaste and walk out with $150 worth of stuff you didn't need. Candles, throw pillows, some random kitchen gadget. You felt bad and buying things made you feel a tiny bit better for about 20 minutes. Or maybe you're scrolling social media and you see someone from high school who seems to be living this amazing life. Suddenly, you feel inadequate, you feel behind, and the next thing you know, you've booked a $2,000 vacation you can't afford because you need to prove something to yourself or maybe to your Instagram followers. This is the $1,000 decision that happens in fragments. $50 here because you're stressed, $200 there because you're bored, $150 because you feel like you deserve it after a hard week. Individually, these purchases feel insignificant. But track your emotional spending for a month and I promise you'll be horrified. Most people spend somewhere between $200 and $500 per month on things they bought purely because of how they were feeling, not because they actually needed or even really wanted those things. Over a decade, that's $24,000 to $60,000. Gone. And you probably can't even remember what you bought. The solution isn't to never spend money on yourself. The solution is to build a 24-hour rule for non-essential purchases. If you want something, wait a day. If you still want it tomorrow when you're not emotional, get it. Most of the time, you'll forget it even existed. So we've talked about lifestyle inflation. We've talked about the financing trap. We've talked about emotional spending. Now let's talk about the decisions that actually build wealth instead of destroying it. Because here's something that took me way too long to understand. Rich people aren't rich because they deprived themselves of everything enjoyable. They're rich because they figured out which expenses actually improve their lives and which ones are just financial noise. The first wealth-building $1,000 decision is almost embarrassingly simple. Pay yourself first. You've probably heard this advice before and rolled your eyes. But most people completely misunderstand what it means. They think paying yourself first means putting money in savings after you've paid your bills. That's paying yourself last with whatever scraps are left over. Paying yourself first means the money leaves your paycheck before you even see it, before you calculate what you can afford, before your brain has a chance to justify spending it on something else. Set up an automatic transfer for the day after you get paid. Start with whatever you can handle. $50, $100, $200. The amount matters less than the automation, because here's what happens when saving is automatic. You adapt your lifestyle to what's left. Your brain recalibrates what's normal spending, and you don't feel deprived because you never had that money in the first place. I know someone who started with $75 per paycheck automatically transferred to an investment account. She complained for about 2 weeks that things felt tight. Then she forgot the transfer even existed. 3 years later, she had over $12,000 saved without ever feeling like she sacrificed anything. The second wealth-building decision is what I call strategic friction. Make it easy to do things that help you and annoying to do things that hurt you. Delete the shopping apps from your phone. Unsubscribe from every marketing email that tempts you to buy things. Remove your saved credit card from websites. Every tiny bit of friction you add between yourself and an impulse purchase dramatically reduces how much you spend. Studies show that even adding one extra step to a purchase process reduces buying by almost 30%. So if you have to go find your wallet, pull out your card, and type in all the numbers manually, you'll buy way less stuff than if Amazon can sell you something with a single click. On the flip side, make saving and investing completely frictionless. Set up automatic contributions to your retirement account. Create a separate savings account for emergencies that's slightly annoying to access. Use apps that round up your purchases and invest the difference. The goal is to make building wealth the path of least resistance, not something you have to constantly force yourself to do through willpower. The third wealth-building decision might sound strange, but hear me out. Invest in things that increase your earning potential, not just things that feel good in the moment. That $500 online course that teaches you a new skill might be the best money you ever spend if it leads to a $5,000 raise. That networking event that costs $100 could connect you with someone who changes your career trajectory. That gym membership you actually use keeps you healthy enough to work and earn for decades. These expenses feel the same as lifestyle inflation from the outside. You're spending money, but the math is completely different because you're buying future income, not just temporary satisfaction. Now, I want to address something that probably crossed your mind while watching this, but I don't make enough money to save anything. I hear this constantly, and I understand where it comes from. When you're genuinely struggling to cover rent and food, talking about investment strategies feels insulting. I'm not dismissing that reality. But I also want to be honest with you. I've seen people earning $35,000 per year who have significant savings, and I've seen people earning $150,000 per year who are drowning in debt. The difference isn't income. It's the accumulation of $1,000 decisions made over time. If you genuinely can't save anything right now, the priority becomes increasing your income. That might mean asking for a raise, learning new skills, finding a better job, or starting a side project. But the $1,000 decisions still matter because as your income grows, what you do with the increase determines whether you escape the cycle or stay trapped in a more expensive version of being broke. Here's the bottom line.
Every financial decision you make is either moving you forward or holding you back. There's no neutral. That subscription you're not sure about? It's either worth it or it's draining your future. That car payment? It's either necessary or it's a 10-year anchor. That impulse purchase? It's either genuinely improving your life or it's a coping mechanism you're paying for. The person you'll be in 10 years is being shaped right now by choices that feel completely insignificant in the moment. So the question isn't whether you can afford something. The question is whether that $1,000 decision is worth 10 years of your future. When you start asking that question consistently, everything changes. Your spending habits change, your relationship with money changes, and slowly but surely, you stop being someone who's always catching up and start being someone who's actually getting ahead.